And here, Lee Anderson MP has just been made the deputy chair of the Conservative Party here in the United Kingdom. That's right, the current governing body that is in Parliament, that is running number 10 Downing Street. Now, Lee has something of a bit of a checkered past, to say the least, because he's a gruff-talking northerner, speaks as he finds, that sort of thing. Now, he was recently blasted in the media because, as everybody was talking about the use of food banks and not being able to afford, he really pointed out the fact that many of these people that were interviewed on TV had Apple Watches, had, subscription stuff like Netflix, Hulu, all of that sort of thing in their homes, but claiming they couldn't afford to heat their homes, or indeed not just heat them, but eat, as in food, and they were now visiting food banks. He pointed out rather radically, much to the dismay of the mainstream media, that it was possible to make a meal for 30 pence, and then he was dubbed 30p Lee. Now, as I say, he's a person who's truly lived a life. He's had hardship himself, comes from some gritty back streets, knows exactly what it's like to have money and not to have money. And I think part of the reason why he's become a successful MP, particularly in his own area, is people understand that he understands their streets, where they're from. Now, as I say, this is a huge promotion for Mr. Anderson. There's no two ways about it, and a bit of a risk for the Conservative Party over here in the United Kingdom. But now he's already ruffled feathers with this. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. As I say, Lee Anderson, not a man really to cross, met him, nice bloke, says as he finds, and of course, a lot of people, many people in fact, thoroughly agree with him. The bottom line though for Lee is this, that he was basically stating recently that the recent rise in crime, not just here in London, but across the United Kingdom, is the fact that judges are way too soft. And that was met with a chorus of approval by many people. As he pointed out, there's no deterrent. When people get murdered, they're lucky if they get 2 years and they're out on probation, that sort of thing. Truly, this started an escalation in massive debate. Lee then reinforced it by saying that he wouldn't be averse to capital punishment being brought back, the death sentence, hanging, that sort of stuff. Once again, as one can imagine, the left were up in arms, while many people from the right felt, well, actually, it has a point. Because the bottom line is, when you look at it, if somebody's openly admitted to doing the most hideous of crimes, why then are given they the freedom to live, not necessarily in luxury, but have meals, visits from family and friends, and to a point their life continues in some form or another. Now, as you can imagine, this is an ongoing debate which could be very problematic for Mr. Anderson by certain people within his own party. But the reason why I wanted to share it with you is, what's it like in your part of the world? Does anybody spin this out to you? And what are your thoughts on capital punishment? I believe, I could be wrong, but I think the final sort of capital punishment over here was in the early 1960s. And the most famous, really, last one, was the hanging of course, the blonde beauty that was Ruth Ellis, way back in the middle 1950s. Would it work? Could it work? Or indeed, do you think that's a past of the relic and we should find some other ways of dealing with some of these terrible crimes that are engulfing not just over here in the United Kingdom, but the rest of the world? Or do you think Mr. Anderson, Lee Anderson MP, is simply right? As ever, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.